So are you enjoying your day off today?
Yeah, man, I actually got a bunch of shit done. Like, cleaning up my house a little bit, some laundry. Tried to work on some music, but did not get far.
I feel like that's how it always goes, right?
Right. Like, you just go on a really good streak of making music or making something, and then afterwards you're like, okay, cool. Well, I made that. Now what? You know?
Yeah.
And it's an absolute pain.
Yeah. Well, especially when you're looking forward to your day off and then you wake up and you're just not feeling like you're being creative, it sucks ass.
Exactly. Yeah. Like sitting down, I can sit down and try and force something out. It ends up sounding like garbage. And I'm just like, no, I'll just listen to this track that I finished like a week ago and play it on repeat and see if there's anything I can change that would make it better, even though it's already, pretty much done.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's have you introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll kind of dive deep.
Okay. Yeah. So my name is Steven. I go by Laska, producer in Utah. Started out as a DJ, doing like EDM and stuff like that. And after a while, I got connected with people who were more so like producers and rappers and singers and stuff like that, and have kind of taken up more that route than DJing and whatnot. I mean, I am more or less affiliated with a collective in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area when it comes to like DJing and stuff. But yeah, I'm a producer, basically, the way I like to look at it.
Dude, so here's the thing too. So you mentioned like Maryland and DC and all that. I'm part of like a group of friends on Twitter that we just randomly met on Twitter, and they're all based out in DC and Virginia. Then I think, do you know Albert?
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but it starts with a C.
Yeah. He was part of that group, and then that's how I got him on the show, is because he was part of that group. So I wonder if there's any mutual knowings in that area. That's kind of fun.
I could probably hit up my manager and ask, because maybe maybe it'd be cool. Small world, even across the country.
Dude, it really is. And you and I kind of know each other because we were going to work on a video a while back.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that.
Yeah, nothing came of that, sadly.
Unfortunately, no. Well, I remember I was working with this dude who was kind of, up and coming rapper, and or I guess not, well, kind of up and coming underground, whatever you want to call it. And, we were like, oh yeah, this would be a cool idea. Let's do a music video, and then like we talked to you, and then he kind of dropped off the map and stopped making music. And I was like, I guess. Cool. But yeah, so I haven't talked to him in forever. The last time I saw a post from him, he's like getting rid of his his studio equipment, and I'm just like, what? Why? But it is what it is, I suppose.
I see that. Well, I see that with like a lot of film people too. They'll be selling like all their camera equipment and like all this nice stuff, right? It's just
Right.
like, why? You have it. I mean, I guess bills have to be paid, but like also that's like sad.
Right. I mean, yeah, like you said, the bills have to be paid. I mean, it's crazy, especially now where, for some artists, like, especially like photography or photographers and videographers and stuff, getting clients, I reckon maybe a little bit more difficult because of people are kind of strapped for cash because of the current situation with, the country, and B, because some people are like, oh, I don't want to go out anywhere. I don't want to get sick and whatnot, and or stuff like that. And so I guess I can understand it, but even then, yeah, it is sad, because you'd think that at least, hang on to it. Maybe if you get some inspiration or something, or, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Like the thought of selling my camera and all this stuff, it makes me want to cry.
Right.
Especially like how much like, money you put toward that stuff. Like, and it goes down in value. So like the chances of you getting that money back is like not a whole lot.
Right. And then when you do decide to pick it up, you sold all your stuff. Now you have to pay more,
Yeah.
to start it back up.
Yeah.
It's kind of a lose-lose to a certain extent.
Sucks, man. But it's sad too. Like I hate seeing people lose that passion too. Like it's just
Right.
it's like the flame goes out and you're like, no, why?
Right. Like, can I help you? Can I help you create, can I help respark that in any way? Like, it's crazy.
Well, how did you get into music then? Like how long have you been doing it?
Like almost 9 years, man. It's been a long time. I got into it around the middle of my senior year in high school. I had this buddy who was a producer, and he was showing me all of this, cool music at the time when like Skrillex was getting bigger, and other, I guess, bass music artists like Cohen Sound and Dylan Francis and stuff like that. And I said, I thought, wow, okay, this is actually super dope. I'd like to make stuff like this. And so I kind of was like, hey, I talked to my dad and I was like, hey, can you get this program for me so I can make music? He was like, sure, I guess. And I was like, all right, cool. So I, started out that way, 9 years later, here I am.
What program did you start on?
So I started with FL Studio, and I still use it, or Fruity Loops. But yeah, I still use it. I've tried other digital audio workstations like Ableton, GarageBand, Logic, and I don't have the same patience I did 9 years ago. That's for sure. Like, there's too much of a curve for how much knowledge I have at this point that it's just not worth my time at present. Like, maybe at a certain point where I'm, producing full time, then it's probably something I could dabble in. But yeah, I've kind of stuck with FL Studio for the entirety of my, for lack of better words, career.
Well, from my understanding, like FL Studio is like still a decent software, right? Like it's not frowned upon. Like,
no, there's a lot of platinum producers that actually do use it. I believe, I can't remember off the top of my head actually. But there are a couple that are very notable names. I just, for whatever reason, cannot think of anybody at the moment.
I got that. Because I know, like, I think my dad used that when he was scoring my film a couple years ago, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's reliable. The learning curve is not as complex as like Ableton or Logic. It's, I guess, very user friendly for sure.
I could dig with that. I can relate that to like editing programs.
Right.
You got Adobe, you got Final Cut, and you got the higher end stuff that's above that. It's just like, nope.
Yeah. I've considered getting into like video editing, but I'm like, I don't know if I want to start another venture and have to go through, more learning and more frustration and things like that.
Yeah, and I get that. I mean, because I started that on iMovie. No, it was actually Windows Movie Maker, and then it went to iMovie, and then I got some, stuff from Adobe And then that was
Right.
before they went cloud, and now I've just been stuck with Adobe. I used Final Cut once, but that was like really hard. And then school, when I was in school, they were trying to train you on Final Cut. Like if you took the editing class,
Hmm.
it's just
Right.
like, well, why? Like it's a weird program.
Who who developed Final Cut? Because I know I've heard of Adobe, um,
I
and
think I think it's Mac did because it's a Mac exclusive. If I'm not wrong, let's see.
oh yeah, it looks like
Final Cut Pro
um,
Apple, yeah.
yeah. Oh, I did a little bit of research and looked it up, but it looks like you've got Murda Beats, TM88, Boy Wonder. I mean, those are some of the just like hip hop producers that are kind of popping, or have pop, have been kind of bigger, at least in the recent years
Yeah.
or so. But yeah, so I mean, it's definitely not something that people look down on for a program. I mean, there are elitists who are, like, oh, Ableton or bust, or oh, I only use Logic because FL Studio is for newbies, or it doesn't sound as professional, or some bullshit like that.
Yeah, no, I definitely know that. Especially if you get into cameras, there's always the Nikon versus Sony versus Canon.
Ugh, right.
It just
No,
goes
no
on.
matter where you go, there's going to be some sort of fan base for a certain brand.
There really is. And, Apple versus Android, for example. I mean, I think it's a prime one.
Right. That's a big one too. And people will fight tooth and nail to just prove they're right over a piece of technology that's basically the same as the opposite, or the competitor or whatever.
Yeah. I think it's kind of fun. So did you have like going into music then, did you learn like how to play a certain instrument before you started trying to produce? Like what was your background in music? Just winging it?
Yeah. I mean, in like fourth grade, I played cello for like 2 months and I
Hell
hated
yeah.
it. Junior high, I took like a semester of drums, but they were like, oh yeah, you got to play the xylophone. I'm like, I don't know how the hell to play a xylophone. Let me play the snare drum. And like, outside of that, I have no formal training. I took piano lessons like last year for a month or two, and I was like, I don't like this. This is boring. I feel like a child going in and learning like how scales work when I kind of already have a loose understanding of it. It's like, teach me how to play things. Don't teach me what the hell a half step means. I don't care.
Like I'm not writing sheet music.
Right. Just like, tell me how to read sheet music, and then tell me how music theory works, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I took guitar lessons way back in the day. Like way back in the day. How old was I? I don't know. We won't go there. But
I was gonna say, you remember how to play you remember how to play anything.
oh yeah, no, I remember how to play stuff, but just I had like two different teachers and they were both like different styles, and I don't know. So I kind of learned on my own after that because like this isn't what I want either. But
Right.
eventually, because I learned how to read from tabs, like where it tells you what fret and finger position, all that and
Yeah.
stuff. But I learned how to transcribe that, like put the notes that were on the piano or on the guitar to translate to the piano. And that's how I learned where the piano keys, like where the notes were on the piano keys, was like
Okay.
through a guitar graph. It was like the weirdest connection ever, but that's kind of how I kind of learned to understand like the basic of piano, even though I don't know how to read sheet music or play any like songs at all.
Right.
It's just like, oh, this sounds cool. Oh, this note sounds good with this note,
Right. You kind of have to like trust your ears. I mean, when I first started, that's really what I was doing, is just, does this note sound good with this note? Yes, it does. We'll keep going. Like I sometimes will, dig into my music library and find old tracks, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, I thought I had the sauce when I was 17. What the hell? Like, it's so crazy. And I mean, honestly, I still don't know how to play piano. Like, if I'm feeling, if I'm feeling a little full of myself, I'll, pull out my keyboard, but I'll write on it like, oh, these are the keys that are in this
Yep.
scale that I want to play. Yeah. And I'll just sit there like playing the keys with my, pointer fingers and like close enough, whatever.
Yep.
Works sometimes, but most of the time it doesn't.
Dude, yeah, I get that. And like, I don't know, watching people who are I guess like classically trained with like piano or cello or violin or whatever, watching them play or transcribe like rock and roll or like dubstep stuff like today's music into their style. It's really interesting to see how it does translate, like
right,
with a different sound. Yeah.
It's so crazy too, and they can make it sound so good as well.
Yeah,
it's mind-blowing.
Yeah, when I kind of like frame that like if you're covering like an old rock band like on the piano or whatever, and it transcribes well, then I guess that's how you know that like the song's well written in that sense,
Right.
like.
I can definitely agree with that. I mean, speaking of well-written songs that have been transcribed to like classical music, I guess there's an entire album of classical music covers, instrumentals of like Kanye's songs, and you're just like,
what?
Yeah, it works, and it's like it's good. They do it really well.
No joke.
No joke.
Oh shit, dude. Who does that? Like who?
Let me look it up really quick. I can't remember.
Trying to picture Kanye songs being translated or transcribed or whatever.
Let's see. Yeah, looks like there's an All of the Lights cover of the Hipster Orchestra, and that one's actually pretty good.
Hipster Orchestra.
Yeah.
It's pretty hipster to do that, yeah.
I guess, yeah. You're like, oh yeah, you guys like hip hop music? Well, we like hip hop music, but it has to be classical. Okay, sure, yeah. Never helps you sleep at night.
I have to listen to that later tonight to see how that works. That's fascinating. I'm actually really intrigued by that. That's fun. So going back to that then, like how old were you when you produced your very first song? Like a song that you shared with people?
Oh, 17, I think. Yeah. I kind of just jumped into it and I was like, whatever. We'll just drop stuff. Who cares? I have no idea how marketing works. I have no idea, like where to share this other than SoundCloud. And I didn't have Facebook or anything at the time, just because it was like, my parents were too big on social media. So like, I couldn't just be like, oh, hey, I made a new song to all my 50 friends that I go to, that I go to high school with. Like, would have not really done much.
I get that. What was like the inspiration behind the song then? Like, how did it kind of come to you?
I just threw shit together. Honestly, I was like, oh, I like this sound. I Googled some like tutorial on how to make some sort of dubstep sound. And I was like, all right, cool. We're just going to make the entire song this sound with drums. Good enough.
That's just, I don't know. I feel like there's no better way to do it than that,
Right. I mean, especially when you're not like classically trained jumping into music production, you kind of just have to figure it out as much as you can with what resources are available. I mean, like nowadays, there is so much online, on YouTube, on forums, that, producers can learn. Whereas, like 9 years ago, it wasn't as popular of a thing to do. And yeah, it's insane.
Because like I imagine, because like I don't know, like 17, like 10 years ago, was that probably 10 years ago ish?
Fuck, almost.
11-ish, 9-ish. Because I remember like trying to learn guitar, like, start a band back in high school. That was the thing, being in a band, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I could play guitar or whatever. And then like you look up these tutorials on how to play these songs. Like they probably didn't have that kind of stuff for EDM or dance or, dubstep or just
Yeah.
for Fluid Studio or FL Studio, FL Studio.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There were resources. Were they good? Very few of them were. Very few of them were.
Yeah. Because now, because I don't think live streaming was like a huge thing back in the day. Like thinking on it, but now people, especially with quarantine, they'll
Right.
live stream just building a track and let their audience watch them do it as they go, which I think is really cool. That's a side of stuff that people don't get to see, watching it
Right.
start from scratch to the final result.
Like, right. Like, as if they're in the studio with the artist, kind of following along.
Yeah. There's no better way to do it than that. That's a long process,
Really.
dude. That's like a 5-hour video right there of trying
Right.
to
At a
find one note.
minimum.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like some of the people that do produce, especially with electronic music,
Yeah.
that can get, a lot of people like to talk shit and say, oh, well, you're just pushing buttons. And it's actually a lot harder than you think. Like a lot harder.
Yeah. What,
Just like, I mean, I guess like any art really, but yeah.
so on average then, like how many tracks do you have on one song?
Like audio tracks.
Yeah.
Um, it depends. Really. I mean, the most recent one that I finished has, pulling it up right now. Let's check.
And
So,
is that including the like mastering of it, or is it a whole different process?
um, well, when I make a track, like I create the track from how do I word this? I create it from kind of the bottom up, using different instruments. I'll use loops sometimes, different drums and things like that. And, sometimes it can be as simple as like 10 tracks. Sometimes it can be as complex as 20, if not more. And that doesn't include like vocals and automation and stuff like that.
So, well, with vocals, like, do you have somebody just come and sing stuff, or do you find pre-recorded stuff? How does that kind of play out?
Well, prior to like the whole quarantine thing, I would go to Northern Ogden, to the studio that I have that I use, that is run by the label that I'm a part of and kind of help co-found. But we would go there and it's like every weekend, 10 people doing something, making different types of music. You got like 2 people in the living room just hanging out, listening to, with headphones on. You got like 3 people in the bigger studio. You got 2 people in the smaller one, and just, have people come over and kind of sing and all work together. But now, I mean, especially lately with a lot of my own stuff, I've just been recording at home. When I am working with somebody, a lot of the time lately, it's actually been people who don't live in Utah. I did an EP with some guy from the UK, which was super awesome. Had another song with a guy in the Midwest. I want to say like Wisconsin or something. I don't actually know 100%. It's like, hey, I like your music. Let's make a song. He's like, all right, cool.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, being stuck at home, gave me a lot of time to work on, I guess, honing my skills as a producer, for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that, because like it seems like, especially with last year, it was just draining for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
Stuck there. Like if anybody says it wasn't, I think they're full of shit, because that was a lot.
100%.
Still is a lot. It's him and over.
Right.
But the fact people have adapted to that and are able to kind of really tune into it, like I think that's a great takeaway from the whole process, you know?
Right. And I think that with the downsides of, you know, being stuck inside all day, a lot of good things are coming from it, you know, even though like some people may not be taking it well, other people are taking advantage of it, you know, to do what they do better and to learn new things.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, have you been working on anything? Like, have you, you know, been working? I reckon you've been working on stuff while, I guess, locked in.
Sort of. I mean, in the sense of like writing new material for like stuff to potentially film, yeah. But some like I've also been editing some side projects for a couple people, but it's never like me actually filming. But it got me back into vlogging as well, which I thought was interesting because I haven't vlogged for quite a bit. Yeah. So set that up, you know, and I'm like, well, whatever. And then, however, though, so my camera was actually glitching out because of a motherboard issue. And so I had to send I had to send it in. And number one, it's very expensive to do that. But number two, I was nervous because like, yeah, I have to send this over to Virginia through the mail. That's going slow. When am I getting my camera back? You know, it's like expensive as shit.
Right. So am I going to get this back, or is it going to get lost?
Yeah, is it going to be back one piece? But no, yeah, it turns out they fixed the issue that was causing like all the corruption, and now it works super sexy, and I could shoot like 120 frames and, you know, make it look beautiful B-roll. Like I'm excited to like get back into like just shooting random shit now in my house.
Hell yeah, man.
Probably see a lot by a lizard.
I mean, do you put where do you post like your vlogs and stuff?
Just on YouTube. And then recently I created a website because like I don't know, I kind of branched across like the whole spectrum of, you know, number one being a writer, then being a filmmaker, and also being a podcaster. And then being a writer is so broad in itself because like sometimes I write film reviews, you know.
Right.
And then other times I just like to write my thoughts and whatever. And I'm trying to wean away from social media so that way I could post on the website and then just share it automatically. And I don't have to interact with my Facebook or whatever else, you know?
Gotcha. Yeah. That's actually pretty smart. You know, that way it kind of puts that one avenue of communication, because you're like, okay, well, everybody gets to see my stuff, but if you need something, you know, follow the link to the website, contact there. Definitely simplifies things.
It does, yeah. It makes it easier. And like with photo, oh yeah, also I take photos on the side too. So it's just the website seemed like the best way to do that instead of linking like, oh hey, here's my Instagram, here's my, you know, Twitter, here's my Facebook. I mean, it's just like so much instead of just like here's everything. You know, take what you will.
Yeah, do with it what you want.
Yeah. So I don't know, that's something I did, but that was that last year. No, that was a couple weeks ago actually. Maybe it was the start of last year. I don't know, dude. It's been a fucking long week.
Seriously, and it's only Wednesday.
I know.
Just like
so somebody messaged me saying, "Hey, I sent you, you know, this video back in October," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that feels like 2 years ago."
Right.
Like, I have to go back to October when things were just wild.
Right. It's like I had a billion different things going on. The world was on fire. Still is.
Yeah. Let's take a less on fire now, I guess. I don't know. It's just,
right.
Dude, it's weird. It's a wild time to be alive. That's how I like to phrase it. But so being stuck in quarantine then, like how has like this inspiration come to you?
You know, being stuck at home gives me a lot of time to think. And it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes I'll just start ruminating and end up depressed because, you know, it's like, oh, well, I'm stuck at home. I can't do anything. and it's boring as hell, you know, especially during the winter too. It's like, great. Well, now what can I do? Where can I go? And like, so, I mean, a lot of the stuff that I've been writing lately is kind of caused by that, you know, just because it's like, oh, hey, you're stuck inside, you know, it's cold. There's not a lot of sunlight. You can't really go anywhere and do anything. And so it's just like, all right, I guess I'll just talk about being sad.
Which is super relatable, you know?
Right. I mean, and that's, you know, one of the reasons why I like making it. Is just because it's like, it's not necessarily me complaining or like journaling about, oh, my life sucks so bad, but more so kind of like being like, hey, you know, I deal with this and I hope you can relate. And I hope people feel less alone
Yeah.
in that sense, if that kind of makes sense.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, like, when you post that stuff, like, do you get people reaching out to you being like, I totally feel where this is coming from, or anything like that?
Not really. No. You know, I do have people reaching out to me and they're like, oh
Are you
man, I really like
okay?
this song. No, actually, no. And surprisingly, my parents haven't come back and did that either. They're like, hey, how you doing, bud? Like, I'm fine. Like, dealing with shit, you know? But yeah, nobody has really reached out to me to say, you know, hey, wow, your music really did this for me. You know, there are some people that I'll show the track and they'll be like, wow, this is actually really good. You know, I like where you said this because this resonates with me in this way, but never anything where it's like, oh my God, this has helped me out so much, and um stuff like that. But yeah.
So have you, okay, let me ask you this then. So being a producer and stuff, have you thought about dabbling into like scoring like local films and stuff to see like how that goes?
Um I have, um but scoring can be really technical. There's a lot more emotion involved than, at least in my opinion, than, you know, say singing or rapping or writing, you know, a beat or anything like that. I have done, I guess you could call it a score. It was like a minute long video that one of my friends sent me from some trip they took. Uh, and it was like from snorkeling or some shit. I can't 100% remember, but they were like, hey, do you want to put like a background music on this? And I said, yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be a cool challenge, you know? Um, and so I'm like, you know, I think about it and I'm like, yeah, I guess that, you know, for short videos, be a blast, you know, but for like full films or even short films, I'd be like, I don't know.
Like, am I the
Probably
best one for this?
right. Like, I'm a pretty decent producer. Like, I'm pretty versatile in what I can do. You know, I've done countless different genres, and I've even, you know, done intros and stuff for like um, streamers and a couple YouTube channels. But scoring is kind of it's a little bit out of my it's above my pay grade, so to speak.
No, it makes sense. I only ask because like I know like BT will dabble in film scoring as well as doing like the, what do you want to call them, like techno stuff, house
Something like
music.
that. I haven't listened to him in ages.
Dude, his new
Unless
album is
it's
really great.
really,
Yeah, the
I'll
opening track
check
is
it
like
out.
killer. Like makes you want to go on a night drive and just like blast that, you know?
Right. I love music like that, you know, that is just 100% vibes. It's not, there's nothing that is it's just perfect, I guess.
Right.
Words are hard sometimes, I'm going to be honest with you.
Um, so okay, so with being stuck in quarantine and like, writing sad tunes because it's fitting. Is that like the lowest that you've kind of been while pursuing music, or has there been lower parts in your
Oh,
life?
there have been much lower parts.
And
They
how did
usually
you
don't make it to releases, if they usually don't even make it to the private section of my SoundCloud, honestly.
So, but you still push through and get like make them like you get them out of your system, right? Like
Yeah, in a way, at least putting it into some sort of tangible medium, I guess, like putting it in a song, and at least
yeah,
having it like, kind of like writing in a journal, like, oh, here it is.
yeah. No, I totally get that. Because I guess like with like every artist kind of kind of goes through that low point. It's not like if, it's just when, and then it's just a matter of
Yeah.
how often.
How often and how bad. It's a very real thing, especially in music, like what you see with very notably large artists, is one second. It's like bigger artists, right? They look like they're living it up, the lavish life, right? Like designer clothing, expensive cars, jewelry, and all of that shit, right? You're like, oh yeah, they must have a great life. And to some extent, because of what they can, because of the life that they are afforded, they really are, but once you start moving down into kind of lesser known artists, not quite underground, but even then, still kind of underground, is, you see it a lot where producers, they get addicted to drugs, or they commit suicide and shit, is because it's such a real thing where people can get very, very low,
Yeah, and it's just a matter of how they climb back out of that. So
Right.
for you, is it creating music is your way of kind of climbing out of that little trench?
Yeah. If it weren't for music, yeah, I probably wouldn't be doing this podcast interview.
Well,
As
I'm glad.
bleak as that sounds.
Yeah, I'm glad that there's music.
Right. Me too, man.
I
Like,
definitely get where that's coming from. So
yeah, it's a very real thing for artists, unfortunately, but I guess it is what it is.
yeah, well, let's counteract that and say, what's
I
some
was just about to say.
what are some of your best highs that you've had?
Yeah. I mean, opportunities that come around being an artist are probably the best. The people you get to work with, I should say, are probably the best parts, because it just provides so many opportunities to learn and grow and connect and network and develop friendships, that are super beneficial and fulfilling.
Yeah,
I think that's probably my favorite thing. I went from being a bedroom producer that that was kind of just hanging out by himself and never really made music with people or got out much, but like I've slowly started meeting people through like mutual friends, or especially at the moment, like Twitter is a big one too. Meeting different people, working with different artists, especially like I recently just like very recently have been talking to one artist that I've been kind of that I've been listening to, and has that I look up to, and I've been listening to him for a couple of years, and I finally got the opportunity to actually work with him, which is huge, and it's going to be one of the it's going to actually be the title track for the EP that I'm dropping some point this year, maybe.
dude, that's fucking news.
And that's the way the news goes. Yeah, it's super lit, man. That's like the best highs from music are the people you work with. 100%.
No, I fully agree. Like working on film sets, for me, like being with those people 12 hours a day
Yeah,
or 12 hours a night, even, like depending on where you're
right.
shooting. There's so many memories, there's so many tempers that are flaring, but like you get to know them, like
Oh
actually
yeah,
know them, dude. And it's just like I strive to get back there after this whole fucking thing's done.
Same, man.
Yeah.
Like, I can only imagine the type of shit you learn about people when you're on the 11th hour of filming and it's like 3 a.m. and everybody's tired of everyone's shit. They all want to go to bed.
Yep.
Things start getting real deep, man.
Dude, they do. For example, one project we were working on, we were shooting out at the haunted house out in Tooele. The is it 49
Asylum,
some 49.
yeah.
Yeah. They give us permission to shoot there for a project, and we shot there all night. And then the owners were there all night with us, and they were like, if you aren't working on set, if like you had some downtime, they'd like take you around and show you how haunted it can be and stuff. And
Oh wow.
yeah, and I don't know, but at 3 o'clock in the morning, dude, like I was laying half on like a plastic chair essentially, and just like, dude, I got a dip. And they're like, "You okay?" I'm like, I've been up because I also work at 5 o'clock in the morning, or I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So, this is like a 24-hour day for me. I was like, I have to get home before I can fall asleep because like if I fall asleep, yeah. But I don't know, dude. There's like a lot of great memories to be had.
Oh, 100%.
On the shooting, and I'm sure working with musicians is just like an equal experience. Like, have you done music festivals then?
Have I played them? I played one kind of sort of music festival. It was like it was a local thing that was done out in, what's that?
Is it DOS Energy or whatever it's called?
No, I've never actually had the opportunity to play that, and that's okay. It was like a smaller one called like Moon Immerse or something like that. I played in 2018. Kind of funny. There was a lot of people who were just playing dubstep, and I played a house set. Like I played techno and I played house to just kind of counteract that, because I was like, this sucks. This is boring. Everybody's playing the same tracks. I'm just gonna play something different.
Yeah, I actually prefer house over dubstep. If I'm listening to electronic music.
Don't tell my manager this, but kind of same, honestly.
Just for me, like, especially if you're writing, fun fact, because it's so what's the word I'm looking like? There's a rhythm and there's a beat, and like it gets you into like this trance essentially where you just tune out everything just right. Whereas if I was listening to dubstep, dude, like all the screeching in my ear would be like, I need like a car for this. I don't.
At a certain point, it becomes very overwhelming.
Yeah. Do you purposely try to like add a lot of bass to see like what your limit of bass and sub could be?
I used to, until probably like a year or two ago, where I kind of reassessed my production. And I was like, okay, hold on. I can't hear really anything else. Like, yeah, sure, it rattles the trunk, but you can't hear shit. Like, so, I mean, yeah, at a certain point, and depending on what I make, there are some that are more centered on the lower frequencies.
Right.
But for the most part, I try to, kind of make it sound more crisp than anything.
Yeah.
Just making sure everything hits the way it should.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite like snare track that you use, or a favorite sound that you kind of resort to?
It depends on like what I'm making. Usually when it comes to, I guess, for like a sub bass, right? I'll make the kind of the same one, just because it's wider and it still has those lower frequencies that, that kind of pop through. Or I'll use the same bass drum, just because I like the way that it sounds and it fits over anything.
Right. Because like how would you describe your style then? Like, every artist has their voice, right? Like what exactly is your voice in that sense?
I just do whatever the fuck I want.
Fuck yeah.
Like, it's like, I don't care. I can't be, I don't want to be put in a box as, oh, well, he only makes this, or he only makes this, or, you know what I mean? Like, I guess I'm an artist,
Right.
really. Is like, is the main thing, I don't really have like a particular style that I could kind of describe. Um, I know that kind of from person to person, as producers, you can kind of pick out certain things and characteristics of their tracks, but yeah, I don't necessarily have like a way to describe my style or sound.
I got you. I got you. As long as it's not like, I don't know. What's
Dog
a,
shit.
yeah. Dude,
That's all that matters.
yeah, as long as it's not like a steaming pile of dog shit.
Right.
And I'm talking about the dog shit that's like hits the snow and like it's already steaming and melting the snow. Like that's a hot pile of dog shit.
Yeah, man, this track is heat. Yeah, it's hot dog shit.
Would that be a compliment or not? I don't know, man.
Right.
You're like, I mean, if it's on fire, that's a compliment. But if this is like heat,
right. I don't know, man. It's as long as it sounds good. I mean, I tend to just trust my ear,
yeah.
and just if I think it's good enough, I'll drop it, and if I don't, I'll kind of hang on to it. And if I enjoy listening to it, I'll just keep it for myself.
So what are your fears then of going forward with pursuing this?
When it comes to music, it is very unpredictable, you know, because one day you could have a bunch of clients and, some sort of label connections, and, you're making steady income, right? The next day you could have all of that just drop out of nowhere,
Right.
And so, that's kind of one of my things is, how big do I want to get? At what point is the risk worth the reward? Because shit can change like that,
Absolutely, yeah. So on that note, then, so basically, I mean, because I had this conversation with my last guest with Emily, and we were talking about how you have to create with intent, essentially. So like everything you put out there, there's an intention behind that,
Right.
I'd assume whatever that intention is, you just probably want to stick true to that in your own way, right?
Right. I mean, yeah, and that's one thing that kind of bothers me is people who do make music without intent. They just make music for the money aspect of it. There's not really emotion behind it.
Right.
It's just sound, it's definitely really important as an artist to, when you are making music, especially, or when you're, I guess, in general, when it comes to art, you have to, what really separates generic artists from, artists that are, I guess, different, right? Is sure you can tell that, or I guess, let me back up a little bit. You can tell between an artist that is just kind of there for the money, or if they're there for the art, right? And so, a lot of those artists will, the real ones, the good songs, right? You can tell there's emotion. You can tell that there's intent, rather than just, oh, fuck, I need to do this so I don't have to, go without eating for a week, right? So, I mean, there are some artists, unfortunately, that do blow up because of, unfortunately, they've got the wrong intentions, but, it is what it is, and it's kind of par for the course.
There's one artist that comes to mind. Okay, there's a couple that come to mind with in that regard, but I don't know. I'll probably talk to you off mic about that. They're not locals. They're
Not trying to name drop. I feel you, man. I'm trying not to do the same thing in any negative light. Like, it's already bad enough. My Twitter is a fucking train wreck. The last thing I need is like name dropping anywhere else, you know. I just don't need that smoke, honestly.
dude. Okay, well, let me ask you this real quick then, because since you brought that up, Twitter or Facebook, like which one do you go to more? I go to Twitter personally, because I think it's a little bit more entertaining and equally as depressive.
Yeah, I tend to spend more time on Twitter just because I can say what I want. You know, I don't have to censor myself as much because my Twitter is not necessarily, I don't just post my Twitter everywhere,
Right.
you know, to say, hey, you should follow me, because half of the shit I say is just so out of pocket that I'm surprised that I'm still on Twitter, you know, like.
I totally relate to that. Because I don't have a lot of followers on Twitter, so I'm like, hey, I could get away with saying stuff, right?
Right.
But then the downside of that is if it does blow up for whatever reason, then the cancel culture definitely will find something. It's not a matter if, it's just like what they find. It's like, oh,
How
yeah,
are they going to twist this?
yeah. I shouldn't have posted that. That was a crude joke I made when I was like 19.
Right. I've had Twitter since 2012, man, and
Yeah.
I've said the most foul shit, because I was at the time like 16, like dumb shit was funny to me. Like, I don't know, I just had a horrible sense of humor.
Right.
And, I actually went back and combed through my tweets. I was like, okay, anything containing this word, we're going to remove.
Yep.
Anything containing this word, we're going to remove, because like, I just didn't give a fuck as a teenager. But now now as an adult, I kind
You're
of
more
have
aware.
to,
Yeah.
and being more aware, you're like, okay, well, it actually is super fucked up to say that, or, okay, maybe I shouldn't, because that might not pan out well. It might not age well,
No, exactly. I recently there's a few websites where you can purge your tweets. I recently purged all the older tweets because I don't know what they contain. Like I've had those for like close to you, like 2012.
Right.
And like with Facebook, even like with Facebook memories, I'll delete posts from like 12 years ago where I'm like, oh dear God, dude, you're ninth grade. Don't. Oh my God. Like no wonder people thought you were a douche, because you were a douche.
I seriously go through the same thing every day. I delete all of the memories from that day, or like I delete all of my memories. All of my posts, I delete them. I'm like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to be reminded that I was this shitty of a person, or that I was this like cringe or anything like that. I don't want to deal with it. Like, I'll untag myself in stupid posts. I'll delete any photos. I'll remove comments and shit, because I'm just like, I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't want. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to remember how like dumb I've acted, or some of the stupid shit I've said in the past. I'd rather just kind of keep it moving and stay changed.
No, exactly. And I think recently, actually, I came across some posts where I was trying to start arguments with like the Utah culture, essentially. And some of those people are still on my friends list, which I'm like, I'm glad you saw through my bullshit. Also, I'm sorry for being such a douche.
Right.
Like that's how they know me as now. But I'm like, I definitely don't do that anymore. I don't know. Social media, man, it's toxic.
Oh, 100%. Like Facebook, especially, at least in my opinion, because people are like, that's like the main social media, right? Like everybody and their grandma has a Facebook. So they think they can get away with whatever the hell they want. Unfortunately, they can't, but it's still, there is some toxic shit that slides through. Twitter, on the other hand, is toxic in an entertaining way. Yeah. It's not in a way that you kind of like, you read something, you're like, oh, I feel bad. You read it and you're like, holy fucking shit. What?
Yeah.
It's like, it's so out of pocket. You want to be mad, but you can't be, because people just wake up and choose violence. And you're like, I can't really do anything about that except laugh.
dude. Yeah, and like especially during the election, Twitter was just on fire with all the memes and stuff, and I don't know, like for example, when it was announced that Trump got COVID, you know Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I'm vaguely familiar.
They posted like this whole montage where he's like, you know, like Biden's not wearing a mask. Why should I wear a mask? All this stuff, and all of a sudden, oh no, it's always sunny in Philadelphia. I cut to to the title card where it says Trump gets COVID, and it's like has the sunny music playing. I just laughed so hard, dude. I was like, that's fucking only on Twitter. I don't see that on Facebook.
Right. I think that honestly, Facebook's behind the curve. And I think that part of the reason for that is because of the more strict content, terms and policies.
Yeah. 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 And like also with Twitter, I mean, you follow who you want to follow. So like what hits your news feed depends on who you follow. Same thing with Facebook. But I mean, Facebook, you have to actually go out of your way to unfollow or else it's based off an algorithm. Twitter, it's just straight up like the latest post from these people you follow. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
like I'll get sports shit.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'll get sports shit and I don't even watch sports. Like it's just because such and so famous person is following this person and they liked the tweet or something. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that's
good for you.
Cool. Cool and great. But why am I seeing this?
Yep.
It's wild.
Dude, it's fun though. All right. Well, so then what are you accomplishing then in terms of like personal goals and all that, like moving forward with music production?
I mean, a lot of my personal goals right now are just working with more people, expanding my network, getting connected better, not just working with the same people. I have all the love in the world for my current circle, and I love working with them. At the same time, I want to be able to create things with people outside of my circle that may provide perspectives or sounds that I may not have been aware of or that are new to me. Right. In a sense, like one of the tracks on this new EP that I'm going to drop, I collaborated on one of the beats with a dude from Ireland.
Oh, nice.
And like, it was as simple as him following me on Twitter. I said, okay, hey, you make beats? He was like, yeah. And I said, okay, cool. Well, let's work. And boom, easy, done, easy. And so, just being able to kind of work with more people is kind of one of my main goals right now, because the more people I work with, the more I learn. And so if I were to just say, oh, well, I'm going to just learn, I'm going to buckle down and focus on this, it just kind of creates that one lane. But having working with the new people kind of kills two birds with one stone.
No, it really does. I feel like if you limit yourself to the people that then you're kind of limiting yourself in terms of the craft as well,
right.
The more well-rounded you are, the better at whatever craft you're doing you'll be,
Right. And that's kind of one of my other goals is just being as versatile as possible.
Right.
Hey, can you make a dubstep track? Yeah. Okay, cool. Here you go. Hey, can you make a hip hop track? Yeah. Here you go. Hey, can you make a ballad? Right. Yeah. Give me like 2 weeks because I don't know how the hell to do that. Like, but at a certain point, it actually, no, it took me like a day to write a ballad, not even a day. But yeah, like it's being versatile means being able to work with more people and getting your name out more, right. Because if I'm only making hip hop, I'm only providing for the hip hop aspect of things. But if I'm making, hip hop, pop punk, fucking rap and shit like that, that's multiple avenues of, different people that will hear my name or hear my music.
Right.
So yeah.
Dude, that's exciting though.
I think it is. I like to try new things, and be open to different styles. Like the EP I'm dropping, I think I'm gonna probably do it in like April or May because I got a song coming out in February. But yeah, the EP has 2 pop punk tracks on it. It has a UK garage track on it. It's got this. It's like I don't know how to. It's like digicore or hyper pop. I don't know what the fucking term for it is. It's going to have like a bunch of different genres, and just because like I like to do what I want to do, I don't want to have to make an entire album that's one genre. I did that with dubstep, and it didn't feel right. It didn't feel as good as making, different, a collection of different genres.
Right. So this EP, like how long has this been in the works for?
Dude, the first track that I wrote for this EP was written, God, let me see, 4 months ago.
So it's been in the works.
A little bit, yeah.
Dude, that's exciting.
Right. I mean, in between that, I was working on another EP for one of my friends, which did actually do kind of well in terms of, relative size of his followers and things like that. And, I've just been kind of creating whatever, I made like fucking happy hardcore, dude. And like, nobody listens to much happy hardcore anymore. That shit's from like the 90s,
Happy hardcore?
Yeah.
What's that?
So it's like, what hardstyle is, right?
In terms of like electronic music?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I know hardcore like in terms of rock music, but I don't know hardcore
right.
in terms of like pop or electronic music.
I'm trying to think of like what a good example would be. Off the top of my head, oh man, I can't. It's like, so think, techno, think distorted drums, and like bright synths, kind of happy singing, themes. How do I word this? It's kind of hard to explain, without with I guess just as a concept. Like think of I'm trying to think of the best way for this to make sense, and I just can't. Think of like ravers in the 90s, right? When you think, you're thinking like, okay, just like house music in a dirty garage, in a dirty warehouse, whatever, right?
Right.
So take that,
okay,
but splash it with like all sorts of different colors and smiley faces.
Oh, okay. So is it like happy industrial music essentially?
Not quite industrial, no. It's like house music, but sped up. There's a little bit more distortion on the drums, more saw waves, high note, bright synths. But yeah,
I'm gonna look this up on YouTube.
I'm gonna send you a link.
Yeah, send me a link.
It's actually it's a cover of a Never Shout Never song that I produced for this dude. It was fun as hell. It was fun as hell to make.
What's that guy's name? Christopher Drew? Was that his?
I think so. Yeah. What's your Twitter? I'll just actually DM it to you.
My Twitter? It's your boy Chazzy. YABOI.
Maybe I follow you. Do I? I do not.
Me? Bastard.
I do not. How dare I, dude? I fucking suck, man. Yeah, I'll actually send you this on Facebook. It's I
had to listen to it. I associate Never Shout Never with like junior high era of people gone emo.
Right. So it's so crazy. Like I was talking to one of my friends about this the other day, like how music changes,
Yeah.
how different trends kind of make things change.
Right.
It's fun and it's at the same time kind of weird. Yeah.
I think I don't know, man. It's always evolving and it's always changing. And like in 10 years, we'll look back on music now and be like, what the fuck was that shit, you know?
Right. Like you've still got people who are, I guess, quote unquote, old heads who are like, uh, who all they want to do is talk shit on new music, who don't understand like I don't want to say complexities because it sounds kind of douchey, but that just don't understand like the sound and the perspectives of the music, because it's
Right.
more than just like, I guess, for example, new music, where you've got a lot of these younger kids, who talk about like doing drugs and fuck bitches, foreign cars, shit like that. And it's like, okay, well, there's no substance. And at the same time, you're like, well, fucking duh. They're just having fun. Leave them alone,
I
right?
thought
Like
you were gonna
not
say like, oh,
everybody's
that's.
gonna,
I thought you were gonna say like, oh, that's the way Gen Z is. They have no substance.
it's
I'm
a
just kidding.
different, it's different for sure. I mean, thinking about like generational, uh, I can't think of the word. Um, uh,
Personalities, essentially.
I mannerisms maybe.
Because I recently on Twitter, I found out. It was like 2 weeks. No, it was a week ago. I was really like bugged by this. Gen Z was talking shit on millennials on TikTok and
Oh
saying that
God.
millennials are stupid. I'm like, what? Like, how are we stupid? Like, I thought we were in the same boat. Like, we're fighting,
Right.
politics wise. I thought we're in the same boat.
Right. Like we're on your side. What is
Yeah.
going on?
And then they're like, well, they obsess over Harry Potter and try to put themselves in different Harry Potter houses. I'm like, oh, kids.
This is before you.
I'm like, go back to your Tide Pods, please.
Right. Go listen to BTS and eat Tide Pods, bro. Fuck.
It really
No,
got me
but
mad.
it's it's so weird, man. It's like the millennials are like the punching bags of everywhere. Except Gen X. Gen X is like just super jaded. They're like the older brother that smokes too much pot and doesn't give a fuck. They're just like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. Go do what you want. I don't care.
What's because I know, dude. I don't know. And like this lady was like, well, millennials have boomers as parents. I'm like, mine are Gen X. Like, what are you talking about? And then doing the
Right.
math, I'm like, okay, well, for those millennials who were born in the 80s, I mean, definitely they're probably later boomers, but
Right.
also go eat a Tide Pod. Like,
Yeah. Like fuck off. Like
I don't know. It just kind of. And then had a question. I'm like, why am I getting so upset about this? Right? Like, this is the
why
most
am I so
boomer.
pressed about a 12-year-old talking shit?
I know. I'm like, this is the most boomer thing ever, and it's making them more valid. Like,
Right. You're like, now they're right, and I feel dumb.
right? Oh
Oh
shit,
God.
dude. I love Twitter. It's great.
It's a fucking lawless wasteland, and it's my favorite.
It really is. Okay, well, let's start just wrapping this up a little bit. I like to end this on kind of two questions, or technically three, but the second question is like a two-parter. But number one, how do you hope you can inspire others?
I mean, as an artist, just to kind of inspire people to not give a fuck. Just do what makes you happy, you know? Don't put yourself in a box just to make it big or to be popular or anything like that. Do what you want, make music that feels good to you. That's kind of one thing that I want to inspire people to do is just do you. Don't let anybody tell you to do something different. Don't, don't try to do something because it's popular. Just do what feels good. If you got the sauce, you got the sauce. Just do what feels good.
Got the sauce. You got the sauce.
Yeah. Like, don't try to like, don't try to acquire it by doing what everyone else is doing, because you won't get it.
Right. Just expand on what's already been done.
Right. Innovate, do something different, even if it's as simple as doing a different sound than what, is popular in your area. Right. Like a lot, especially out here, a lot of it is like dubstep and stuff. And so that's why I've kind of moved away from it. Like I still, of course, like to make it, and do regular, semi-regular tracks with the label I'm a part of back east. But, a lot of my own personal stuff is way different than a lot of what I'm hearing being released in Utah, because I want to be different, because it feels better to do that.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, even from a film perspective, I mean, there's like a certain kind of films that get made here. It's just like, why we could just step out of that.
Right.
Push
and I'm
boundaries.
not too in tune with like what, with like videography and art, or not art, but like videography in Utah, what kind of trends there are and stuff like that. But I can imagine, that it's all pretty cookie cutter shit.
Yeah, which I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's an audience for that, whatever, and
Right.
people making what they want, which is great. But also, they're the same people that shit on others who like to make things a lot different that aren't that push the boundaries to the Utah norm.
Right.
It's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but there's always going to be those kind of people.
Always got to learn that early on. But and then here's the two-parter. Two-parter is what's one piece of advice that has stuck to you throughout the years, and how do you apply it?
It's crazy. I've met several different producers, DJs, and artists, and every time I meet somebody, I say, okay, hey, what's one piece of advice you could give to somebody who's, trying to do this full time, that's trying to chase this dream? And I think one of the best pieces of advice that I got was, don't stop.
Believe in.
Don't. Basically, man, it's don't stop, don't quit, don't give up, keep going, no matter how hard it gets. The next tune you make could be the one. Like, don't give up. Just don't give up.
You can never hurt yourself by making too much.
Exactly.
Or creating too much, in a sense.
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And and so I use that every day, or every time I open up my laptop, which has like every day. I apply it to everything in my life, like work, music. Just don't give up. It keeps me going, because if I give up, then I've lost.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good note to end on.
Yeah.
Just fucking do it.
Exactly. Don't sue us, Nike.
Let's talk about Shia LaBeouf. What are you talking about? That's probably not good to bring up either, because he's in the news lately for stuff.
Oh boy, I'll have to read up on it. Gotta love drama, right?
Yeah, and like it's really tragic. I mean, to everybody, to all parties. I mean, it's just sad. But all right, man. Well, where can people find you? Drop your stuff.
So my Instagram is laska.music. Twitter is Laska_official. Facebook is just Laska. You could probably find it in a link on my Facebook. SoundCloud is linked in all of my shit. Spotify links are on my, SoundCloud and Twitter and stuff like that. And so, yeah, basically all my socials are available through Facebook. So if you go to my personal page, you can just follow the links.
There you have it. Sir, thank you coming
Sure.
on.
Yeah, man, it was a pleasure. I hope I answered all of your questions, in a good way, or in, the right way, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Didn't get too far sidetracked.
No, dude. I've had some that have gone like 3 hours. It was just like it took us like an hour to get back onto the original question.
Jesus. Well, I'm glad I was able to do this podcast without making any lowbrow dick jokes. So
yeah,
just
dude.
kidding, man.
No, I think that's all good. I don't know. I'm glad that you came on. I've actually been meaning to reach out to you for a bit, and then I'm glad I saw your post on Facebook on Friday.
Yeah,
So.
I think it kind of hit me as I don't know of anybody who's doing something different. I don't know of anybody who's trying to do things, who's trying to break outside of a box that's underground.
Right.
Like there's a couple artists who are from Utah that have gained some notoriety, but a lot of the underground people are underground because they're not doing anything different, like they've got all of these followers and shit, or all of these friends and stuff like that, but their music is bland.
I get that.
Boring, so yeah, I just had that thought of like a little bit of the ego embers kind of flared up a little bit. And yeah.
We all have our egos for a reason. And as long as you keep it in check and give it a reality check,
Right.
and be real, which I think you were and you are. I don't think there's anything wrong with stoking the embers,
Exactly. I mean, it's just a matter of, are you being honest? And who are you trying to convince?
Right.
Or are you saying this to
appease
to brag?
Others? Yeah.
Right. Or are you saying this just to be forward,
Yeah.
Cause like I could have said some shit that was like way out of pocket. I could have been like, oh yeah, fuck every single producer in Utah. They're all dog shit and they should fucking stop making music. It's like, no, dude, I love seeing people make music, especially if they're not that great,
Yeah.
Because seeing people get better inspires me to get better. Like, cause if I'm just stagnant, then nothing's going to happen. Just stay the same. So.
Right. Well, that's actually kind of like the reason for this podcast is just to hear like how others keep themselves inspired, and hopes to inspire others who happen to listen in on it. So,
right.
Thank you for sharing your story with all that.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on, man. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, dude. Let's stay in touch and we'll talk shop. Is that the phrase? Talk shop? Shop talk?
Sure.
I don't know.
I have no idea, man. But yeah,
I'm a writer, I promise.
We'll definitely stay in touch. I'm sure there's something I'll create down the line where I want a music video shot for it. So
hell yeah, dude. Yeah, no, we'll stay in touch. So follow Steven everywhere and follow me, and that's it.
You better follow Chaz or else you get 10 years of bad luck or some shit. I don't know. Follow him. Follow him.
The old
listen to the podcast, right? Forward this to 10 of your friends or else you'll wake up with sweaty toes. I don't know.
The worst. If the sweaty toes give you athlete's foot, dude, fuck.
Right.
All right, Steven, see you around.
Oh, man. Later, man.